From a candle that can never go out to a toy robot that definitely isn't for kids, here are 5 more cursed SCP items that should be locked away forever. Number 5 on this list is SCP-028. SCP-028 is hard to describe because it doesn't have any distinguishable qualities to it. It's located directly in the center of an abandoned storage yard, so one could make an argument that the center pocket of air is the item in question, or that the entire storage yard is the problem. Either way, this thing definitely needs to get locked up forever. The Foundation writes, subjects entering SCP-028 are, within 3 to 6 seconds, struck by total and complete knowledge of a subject. This knowledge is thus far completely random in both size and usefulness, and sometimes goes unnoticed for extended periods of time. More profound knowledge generally has a stronger effect with some cases. This effect can be experienced multiple times by exiting and re-entering SCP-028, but can result in increasingly strong migraines and dizziness after 2 exposures. Now, you're probably thinking that this is freaking awesome and something that we should use to our advantage, but the problem is you don't get to decide what knowledge you attain. The Foundation did a few experiments with this thing and documented them. In one of those experiments, they say that the subject began to cry and went into a fetal position, showing signs of high distress. Unresponsive to questioning and outside stimulus for several days. Lapsed into catatonia shortly after stating that this is not life. Subject passed into a coma and died shortly after. Cause of death was attributed to shock. So that's kind of the big problem with something like this, guys. Learning everything about something sounds great in theory, but in practice might be too much for us to handle. We aren't omniscient beings, and potentially our bodies weren't made to be able to become omniscient beings. This is just one of those things that we aren't ready for yet. So for now, I say we gotta lock it up and not mess with it. Number 4 on this list is SCP-846. SCP-846 is honestly pretty cute. The Foundation writes, SCP-846 is a plastic toy robot measuring 20 centimeters in height and 5 centimeters in width. The bottom of SCP-846's right foot bears the text Robo Dude, now with voice command action, by Dr. Wondertainment. Signs of paint chipping and minor damage to SCP-846 indicate that it's roughly 10 years old, although attempts to question SCP-846 on this have been ignored. So it's just a tiny little robot. How much harm can this thing cause? Answer: a lot. First off, when this thing is turned on, it appears to be so well programmed that some people think it's sentient. That hasn't been confirmed, but it responds very well to any question that's asked of it. Second, and most importantly, it has 350 robo-accessories. Okay, so what? A robo-accessory doesn't sound so bad. Well, how about if that robo-accessory is an atomic grenade? Flamethrowers, hydrogen guns, laser beams, you name it, this robot carries it. All you need to do is ask it to utilize one of its robo-accessories, and then out from its stomach pops whichever one you've requested. This tiny kid's toy is basically the world's largest and most advanced armory in the entire world. It has weapons that we're not even close to being able to comprehend, which are so powerful that they could literally end the world. If this toy was to end up in the wrong hands, then we might all be done for. I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that whoever owns this robot could easily take over the world too. If you could threaten the use of an atomic grenade whenever you wanted, then you automatically become very powerful. Lock it away and throw away the key. Or honestly, better yet, maybe just destroy it. Number 3 on this list is SCP-155. SCP-155 is described by the Foundation as a complex electronic construct consisting of highly modified Cray CS6400 supercomputer, a dedicated radioisotope thermoelectric generator, and a device that has yet to be fully reverse engineered. SCP-155 was recovered from the basement of Prometheus's lab primary research laboratory by elements of Mobile Task Force MU-4 following the destruction of the facility and subsequent Foundation intervention. When a program and accompanying data is loaded into SCP-155 and executed, SCP-155 generates a spherical temporal distortion field with a radius of approximately 5 meters. Within this sphere of influence, the passage of time is rapidly accelerated, resulting in a hyperbolic increase in the effective processing power of SCP-155. Execution begins slowly as the processing hardware of SCP-155 is dated, but its effective processing power approaches infinity after approximately 8 minutes and 14 seconds of execution. From fragments of documentation recovered by Prometheus's lab, SCP-155 was used to perform massive calculation jobs that would have taken months, if not years, of processing time with conventional computing devices. So once again, guys, we are dealing with something that actually sounds incredible. A processor that is so fast it could change the way our world is run. However, as I'm sure you're guessing, there's a catch. The catch is that when this thing is used, it generates some radiation. A lot of radiation. The longer it processes, the more radiation is generated, and this can reach incredibly dangerous levels. It's even thought that if this thing was left processing for too long, then we could cause some world-ending scenarios. A processor that is so fast and smart, but also capable of totally changing our world's climate and killing all of us in the process. As tempting as it would be to use this thing and advance tons of stuff, it just isn't worth the risk. At the end of the day, our planet is the most important thing that we have. We have to protect it, and in this case, it means locking this thing up for good. Number 2 on this list is SCP-310. SCP-310 is extremely dangerous and needs to stay locked away forever. It's just a tall, white candle, nothing too intimidating on the surface. The flame on the candle isn't too big either, but it never goes out. Unless it's immersed in water or some other substance to inhibit the flame, this flame will always go. Even if you put it in water and then take it out, the flame will immediately reappear as if it was always there and never went out at all. This isn't too dangerous, just don't burn yourself on the candle. The problem is how this flame interacts with other flammable objects. The Foundation writes, any flammable or semi-flammable substance which comes into contact with SCP-310 becomes ignited with a slow-spreading fire. Unlike the flame of SCP-310, this fire cannot be extinguished by any known means other than exhausting its fuel supply. Experiments have shown that the fire will continue to burn even in a vacuum, underwater, in a nitrogen-saturated environment, under intense airflow, in a refrigerated environment, encased in a fire retardant covering, or any combination of the above. Only total consumption of all flammable material in contact with the flames will result in them becoming extinguished. Therefore, in the case of accidental ignition, especially of personnel, separating the lit section from the rest of the object as soon as possible is the only way to preserve the rest of the exposed object. So that means that once something gets lit with this flame, it's not going to stop until it's completely destroyed. Think about how horrible that could be to society. You could burn down entire cities, maybe even countries to the ground with this one tiny little candle. Obviously, for this reason, it needs to be locked up forever, preferably in some water containment facility to prevent any accidents from potentially taking place. Number 1 on this list is SCP-173. Guys, I hate this SCP so much, just researching it gave me shivers. The Foundation says that it is constructed from concrete and rebar with traces of Krylon brand spray paint. SCP-173 is animate and extremely hostile. The object cannot move while within a direct line of sight. Line of sight must not be broken at any time with SCP-173. Personnel assigned to enter container are instructed to alert one another before blinking. Object is reported to attack by snapping the neck at the base of the skull or by strangulation. In the event of an attack, personnel are to observe Class 4 hazardous object containment procedures. They also go on to say that this thing excretes this reddish-brown liquid, which is apparently a mixture of feces and blood. So first off, this thing is absolutely disgusting. It literally sweats bloody poop and also looks like something picked straight out of hell. Second, the way it kills you is just terrifying. You literally can't ever stop looking directly at it. Directly at this gross creature that wants to murder you. If you blink, you die. If you lose focus for 1 second and you look anywhere else, you die. Honestly, I don't think that this thing needs to be locked up at all, it just needs to be flat out destroyed. If it was up to me, then I'd take SCP-310, the candle that we just talked about, and light this thing on fire so the only thing it can do is burn to death. There's no reason why we should keep this thing around. The only thing it's capable of doing is stinking up a room and killing people. Burn it with fire, and let's be done with it. Well, there you have it, guys. That is our list of the top 5 cursed SCP items that should be locked away forever, part 2. Please comment down below what you thought about this list and some other cursed items I may not have mentioned. Also, hit the like and subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching. I've been your host, Nicholas Playlog, and I'll catch you next time.